Go ahead and get started with today's pre-bid meeting. Uh, Today's pre-bid meeting is for the ARPA request for proposal 184217, and this is for the General Services Department Neighborhood Signs Fiduciary Project. Today is December 7th. My goodness, I did this yesterday, but today is December 7th. My name is Sonia Clifton, and I'm the ARPA project manager in the Office of Contracting and Procurement for the City of Detroit. You'll see my contact information here on the screen, and you may use this information www.detroitmi.gov/supplier to view information attachments relating to this bid opportunity as well as all other open bid opportunities with the City of Detroit. Let me get my other controls up. Okay, so once again, to restate, this is for the ARPA RFP 184217, and this is for the neighborhood signs. This bid opened on November 30th, 2023. Questions are due by December 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and the bid closes on January 3rd, 2024 at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So during the course of this meeting, we'll go over the agenda. If you could either, well, let's see, we have a small group here, so we might be able to go around and just do brief introductions. We will go over the American Rescue Plan Act. We'll get some background information and description of needs. I don't see our representative from the department, so if he does not join, I will take your questions and have him respond in writing. But for my part, I will be able to go over the procurement portion of this particular project, going over the timelines and the key response items. And again, I will open the floor up for questions and answers. I will be able to answer any procurement related questions, any specific questions related to the project. We will take them down and respond to them in writing in time for you to incorporate that information into your bid response. So at this time, let's just do a brief round of introductions. I do need to let you know this call is recorded. If you are uncomfortable being on camera, you do not have to turn your camera on. But I do need to record this meeting just for our records and in case someone would like to attend but could not make it at this time. So when I call on you, if you could just briefly take yourself off of mute and introduce yourself. I'll start first with caller 313-618-2904. If you can take yourself off of mute and introduce yourself.
Sam Abrams.
Thank you, Sam. Do you want to say what entity you represent? No? Okay. Let's go on to Bobby
I'm
Burton.
sorry, Strategic Alliance Group. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Hi,
no worries.
I'm Bobby Burton, and I'm with Space Lab Detroit. We are a local co-working space.
Thank you, Bobby. Karen Burton, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Karen Burton, also with Space Lab Detroit. Space Lab Development, Inc. is our parent company.
Thank you. Hal Gofan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's Co, and I'm with Strategic Alliance Group.
Thank you, Co. Michelle Tutt? Uh-oh, Michelle, you're on mute.
As long as I've been working from home, you think I have this down packed by now, right?
It happens to the best of us.
My name is Michelle Tutt, and I'm Senior Project Manager representing MTT Consulting Company.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning.
Thank you.
Keisha Taylor.
Hi, Keisha Taylor. I'm with AAX Global.
Thank you, Keisha. And I see our City of Detroit representative has joined. Zachary, if you can briefly come on and introduce yourself to the group.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Zach Mears. I run the Blight Remediation Division and will be the main point person on this project.
Thank you, Zachary. And I will put the slide as soon as I find my control. Here we go. So again, just to reiterate one more time, this call is being recorded. We've already done our introductions. All bidders are encouraged to ask questions during this time. You may enter them into the chat at any time, or you can raise your hand at the end and we'll call on you to ask your question live. All verbal responses will be provided today, but they are unofficial until documented in writing in our official response after the question period is closed. If you come up with any questions or think of something after the call, please feel free to submit your questions using the messaging function in the supplier portal. We really discourage you from emailing any City of Detroit staff member directly. We have to keep the questions within the confines of the project, and it just makes it easier for your question not to get lost in our email in bins. So please use the messaging function. If you have trouble locating it, certainly reach out and we can direct you there. And we will get your questions answered in time for you to submit, incorporate it into your response so you can have that information available to you. So this project is funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, abbreviated ARPA. That's a federally funded project. And this deals with the monies that were granted to the city to deal with COVID-19 shortcomings. The City of Detroit received $126.7 million. And we are working to use that money to address many shortfalls and get very important projects done. So this means that you must follow federal guidelines for this particular project. It also means that local preferences are not allowed, so no equalization credits will be applied for this particular project. And it also means that SAM registration is required. That's the System of Award Management, SAM.gov, that you must register for through the Department of Treasury to be eligible to enter into a contract as a result of this bid project. Okay. And at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to Zachary Mears, my colleague, to give you additional information regarding this project. Zachary?
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining the call today to talk about the Neighborhood Signs Project. So we essentially are working with the Department of Neighborhoods to create neighborhood signs for the different communities who meet the eligibility requirements, as a not a block club, but a neighborhood. Can't think of the distinction, but we put out a sign up sheet on our website so that folks who feel like they are eligible can sign up. And we've had, I believe, over 50 community groups sign up who meet the eligibility requirements. And what we're trying to do is manufacture and install the signs in the neighborhoods at their entrance points along the self-identified borders. And so, what we've created is a menu for the communities to choose from as far as like the size of the sign, the shape of the sign, and the color of the text. They can also supply one logo if they have one. And so what we're asking the vendor to do, who gets selected for this project essentially, is to function in a fiduciary / project management role. So what that means is we have, Sonia, can I say the budget?
No.
No, okay. So we have some funding to do this project. And so essentially, when you're putting a sign in the public right of way, you have to use appropriate sign vendors, and you have to follow the process through VSeed and get some permits and stuff. And so we VSeed has a list of approved sign vendors, right? So I think there's like 50 of them or something. And so on our end, our project manager will be managing the selection of those vendors and working with the community groups to flow through the menu selection process to identify an approved design, and they'll be working with BSeed, and so the vendor will cut the checks in a fiduciary role to the selected sign fabricator and installer, and then also work with that vendor and our project manager to ensure everything is done on time and to our standards. And so those are sort of the two primary functions that we're looking at for a vendor in this project.
Okay, let me get back to my screen. Yeah, so and the reason why we don't like to communicate the budget necessarily is because this is an RFP, we're looking for your real world pricing. So let us know what your project fee is going to be for this. The way the project is set up, and I have the RFP in front of me, we're asking for what your respondent markup percentage is. So if you look at all the documents and you see the example given, you should be able to let us know based on the accounting, accounts payable, tracking, reporting, project managing, and scheduling, what your project markup would be based on a signed budget of $5,000 or $10,000, given the work that would be necessary.
Right. And
Yeah.
Sonia, if I can speak to that a little bit more.
Sure.
So, yeah, in that example, so the city of Detroit has worked with the community group to identify an approved design for their signs. We've worked with them to identify the locations of the signs, and then independently selected a vendor to fabricate and install them to the specs of BC. And so once all of that background work is finished, is when we would bring the vendor in and say, hey, we need you essentially to function in a fiduciary role to cut a check to this vendor. And so we're looking for what your markup would be in order to facilitate that process. And I don't know what the typical fiduciary rate is, but um, essentially that's the main function of this role. And as a partner, we want you to work with our project manager to ensure the vendors who we select to do the fabrication and installation are held accountable, because technically they'll be working for you. So that's why it's not a pure fiduciary role. There's a little bit added responsibility. So I just wanted to clarify. So that's kind of how that process will work, and we're looking to do it. Can I say how many times? Well, I said already that there's 50 groups who are approved, and so at a minimum, we'll be looking to do that function about 50 times or so.
Yeah, in the RFP on the screen, it says 200 signs. Now, I don't know if that's 200 independent neighborhood signs, or maybe one neighborhood association has two signs, but
Yeah,
sh-
that's it. So we
okay,
were counting each, they'll have anywhere between 2 and 4 signs per maybe even one if they're a really teeny group, but we don't
gotcha.
anticipate that. We're looking at each groups and asking them to identify their north, south, east, west border. And so, at the most they'll get 4, and at the least they'd get 1. And so that's why, we did number of signs, not number of groups.
And just a point of clarification for me. This does say neighborhood signs for neighborhood association and block clubs. Now, would this be the same as the signs that delineate and mark, say, like Boston Edison or Palmer Park or Green Acres? Or are we talking about specific neighborhood associations like Morningside or Can for new center. Just a little bit of clarification for the group, please.
Yeah, I mean, all of those sound like they would be eligible to participate in the program. We have a guideline to what the Department of Neighborhoods has a guideline for eligibility, and I just off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's something like you got to be established, have clear borders, hold meetings, been established, I think, for 3 years or 5 years or something like that. So um, realistically, the Department of Neighborhoods will be vetting the applications. And then once they say to us, this group is good to go, that's when our project manager comes in and has those meetings to select the design, sign, and colors and stuff.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Zach.
Yep.
Agree.
Zach is good.
I hate shortening anyone's name unless they give me permission to. So
Yeah, Zach
thanks
is
for
good.
that.
The only person that calls me Zachary really is my mom when I got in trouble. So I'm good with Zach.
All right. Thanks so much. Okay, so on the screen here, I have the evaluation criteria, which is section 3.4 in the RFP. This states how your proposals will be evaluated. So for criterion 1, we have respondent experience and references. Just looking at the verbiage there, that's incorrect. But respondent experience is worth 35 points. The respondent capacity is 20 points. Res- uh, Proposal introduction and technical responses were 15 points in your pricing attachment C. Please fill out attachment C and submit that with your response. Is going to be worth a maximum of 30 points. Key response items located in section 4.2 talks about what we expect for your bid submission. A letter of transmittal, your attachment A, attachment B, attachment C is the pricing sheet that I mentioned before. Attachment D are your forms, affidavits, and documents. And attachment E is a model professional services contract for you to review if you'd like to share with your legal department. If you would like to proactively highlight some red lines or revisions you'd like to request, should you be offered a tentative contract for this project with the City of Detroit. The last page of the RFP lists out once again the attachments, and they can be downloaded from the Oracle system. Attachments A, B, C, D, and E, as well as the RFP document itself. And just to conclude, this bid was advertised on November 30th. It's an ARPA bid, so it is out and open for at least 30 days. These questions are due December 15th. On or before 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Please make sure that your supplier portal is set to the correct time zone. It does not default to the Eastern Time zone. If you are newly registered, it may reset to something called Universal Time, and it will put you 7 hours behind, and you risk missing the bid cutoff if you go by that time. So please make sure you set your supplier profile to Eastern Time, or adjust the time clock accordingly so that your bid will be submitted on time. As I stated previously, this project closes January 3rd, 2024 at 3 p.m. and work will start pending City Council approval. And at this time, I will turn the floor over for questions and answers. If you'd like to, we have a small enough group, you can take yourself off of mute and ask your question.
Hi, this is Sam from Strategic Alliance Group. So just so that I'm clear, this is strictly fiduciary responsibilities that you guys ultimately will be identifying the individuals that are doing the install, as well as the companies that are actually producing the signs. Fiduciary from the standpoint of making them, I'm not making them, but cutting the checks to the vendors, as well as making sure that the project runs on time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The one added wrinkle to it that makes it a little bit more than a fiduciary situation, thank you, is you guys will, the vendor will be the one entering into the contractual obligability, obligate,
Obligation?
yeah, the contractual obligation with the vendor, who we select to do the fabrication and install. So
Can you
they
repeat? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no
That
problem.
was just a little confusing for me. Repeat that one more
Yeah.
time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So in a typical fiduciary situation, you cut a check to a group and then that's it, right? You're it. You're like, hey, here's the money, do with it what you want, essentially. But in this instance, since each one of these installs is like a little teeny construction project, you will be entering into the agreement with that group. So they will technically be working for you.
But you identify them, but they work for
Yeah,
us. Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
yep.
That's good. Thank
Mhm.
you. Good information.
And again, BSeed is strict about who they allow to fabricate and install signs in the city of Detroit. And so there's already a large list of vetted professionals who do this work, who we will be the ones working with them and identifying who is best able to do these projects. And so there may be multiple projects happening at one time with multiple like subcontractors or whatever.
Gotcha.
And we're looking to do this project. We want to do the majority of the work this summer, but the following summer we'll also be eligible to finish the work that we haven't completed at that point. So it's like a 2-summer install window.
Hi, Zach, Karen Burton. So we would be, or the vendor would be responsible for making sure the signage is installed properly. So does that mean you anticipate we would have to make some site visits?
That's a good question. I believe that VC will be the ones to ensure that things are done to code, So
Mhm.
and we will be the ones, the city of Detroit will be the ones facilitating the permitting and approval process. That won't be the responsibility of the vendor. So, I think it's good business practice to ensure the projects you're involved with are done to the level that you feel appropriate. But as far as the technical process of getting a permit and closing out the approval, that will lie in the lap of the city of Detroit.
Okay. And then a second question, do you think there would be any community engagement for the vendor with the block clubs or neighborhood groups?
No, I don't anticipate that the vendor will be included in that process. But, if the vendor wants to attend those meetings and create bonds in the community, that's fine. But it's not an obligation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent questions. Anyone else?
Hi, this is
Hey,
Keisha
Sonia, this
Taylor.
is Michelle. I just wanted to confirm, you'll be sharing this recording, right, with us?
Yes, and I will also, either myself or Zachary will go ahead and just double check and make sure that we clearly define the question about responsibility of signing off. I think Zachary accurately described it, but um, we will put this in an official document as well. So, but the short
Okay.
answer is that yes, I will post the recording. It takes sometimes a day for it to get ready and upload it and turn it either into a link video or a YouTube video. But I will make this available to you as well as the attendance sheet if I can get it to spit out properly.
All right, great. Thanks, Sonia.
You're welcome. I think Keisha had a question.
Yes. Hi. Two-part question. One, given that the vendor for this contract will be a fiduciary responsibility, I didn't see in the assessment of the vendor whether or not financial capacity was a part of that review process. So if you could speak to that. And then the second part is just around the invoicing. I know typically there is a desire for after 30 days of work to then send an invoice. And would that be the same for this project, or would it be on a per sign basis, per neighborhood basis? Can you kind of share how the vendor should invoice for this project?
Zachary, if you can handle the invoicing uh, portion, I will address the financial capacity.
Yeah, that sounds good. We anticipate packaging the projects, and so we won't be sending one-offs. We'll be setting a handful of jobs at a time so that we can limit the number of invoices that need to be submitted. And once we have a package, we work with you guys to submit an invoice for that amount of money plus your markup for the project.
Regarding the financial capacity, attachment D, item number, I believe it's 11, asks for 3 years of financial information. So we're asking for your financial statements. We do submit ARPA projects for a financial review, and that's included in your contract package when we submit them for City Council approval.
Okay. And I guess just a follow up to that about, because this is a ARPA funded project, I know one of the components of this is making sure that the documentation is clear and accurate and meets those federal guidelines. Um, do you have any, I guess, just additional information that you can share around just making sure that um, in our responses that we can speak to our ability, to meet those federal guidelines? Is that something that would be desired?
Yes. So really and truly, what we need to make this go as smoothly as possible is a complete attachment D. So that would include your certificate of authority, making sure that you're registered to do business with the state of Michigan. We received quite a few bid responses for companies that aren't registered in Laura or they are not in good standing. So that goes a long way. Uh, Certificate of Award Management, you must be registered with SAM. Even if City Council, you get as far as having your contract approved, we cannot issue a federally funded contract without a SAM approval. Your City of Detroit tax clearance has to be approved to meet that qualification. And I believe, certificate of insurance. Make sure that you have an updated certificate of insurance with the minimum insurance requirements. That can be located in the Model Professional Services Contract. Article 10 discusses the minimum insurance requirements. We typically, for a professional services, require auto insurance on your policy unless your company does not own autos, and then we have an own auto waiver, but we do require it for non-owned and I believe it's leased vehicles. So those things are the minimum federal guidelines. Other than that, we have our standard consolidated affidavits, your statement regarding disclosure of interest, uh, non-collusion statements, disclosure of interest if there's a potential conflict. Um, I'm trying to think. I don't think it will be often that you would have it if we are dealing with sign fabrication companies and you're the fiduciary. I mean, chances are likely you might run into a situation where you're doing a sign for a neighborhood that you may know someone in, but that I don't see that as a conflict. Um, that's kind of just it has no bearing on the actual project. So those are the main documents. But for the federal funding specific portion, yes, we do require your financials. We do require a SAM registration. We do require your tax certification approval, and you must be registered with the state of Michigan.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Trying to think, have I missed anything? Let me go back and check my list here. Oh, we also, City of Detroit requires a sample employment application. We have a ban the box policy with the City of Detroit. So if your application uh, includes language that requires an applicant to disclose a felony conviction, um, we ask that you sign a document stating that you will not use that particular box or that information regarding anyone you employ to work on this particular project. Um, but I think everything else, that's pretty much it. Any other questions?
Hi, Sonia. This is Takendria, and I apologize. I did join a little late, and so you may have addressed this already. Just want to ask real quick, have you guys decided the number of vendors you're looking for this project? Was that addressed already?
It was
The
not,
number of
but in
sites?
the
Okay.
RFP, it states that it may be one or multiple, and
Okay.
that's generally the case with many of our projects. So it kind of boils down to the scale of the project, but we are looking at one or multiple awards for this project,
Okay.
and it may be split out by, I don't know, geographically or size of project, but that is a possibility that we'll be giving out multiple contracts for this particular project.
Okay. That's more so what I was curious to know. Was it just one? Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay. If you think of anything, again, feel free to post them in the supplier portal messaging system. I've taken down your questions. I'll go back and re-listen to the video to make sure I have everything captured correctly. And we will write these down along with any submitted questions and get those to you. I see Co has a question. Go ahead.
I noticed in the RFP that part of the duties would be project management, but it sounds like, and Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys would be handling that portion, the project management portion of.
Yeah, we included that because of the relationship that the vendor will have with our sub vendors or whatever. So the fact that you will be contracting with them to ensure the project is done is, technically project management, but because you are the ones who have a contract with the vendor. So that's why we included that bit. But you're correct in the statement that we as a city have a project manager dedicated to this project to both work with the vendors and work with the community groups. And so, we are going to be doing the majority of the project and bringing the selected vendor in towards the latter stages to contract out the work with the construction company.
And Co, the way I interpreted it, and I could be wrong, I think the project manager portion really speaks to communicating statuses and just managing the timeline. Would that be a correct statement, Zachary? Because these
Yeah,
things get
yeah,
reported up. You're giving the status to our project manager, who has to give the status to his group, and so forth and so on. So you're really documenting and communicating the status of the particular project or the particular vendor that has been assigned to you.
yeah, that's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing further, Thank you all so much for taking the time this morning to meet with us and learn a little more about this project. Feel free to communicate through the message portal if you have additional questions. We look forward to your responses. If I don't hear from you, I wish you all a wonderful holiday season. I hope everyone's safe and enjoy. And again, thank you for your interest in doing business with the City of Detroit. Have a great morning.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care.